Hi, welcome to People. It's been said that the internet exposes the genius of the everyday public. Well, perhaps not in such romantic terms, but this illustrates the aim of this project: to showcase the subtle, original, and life-affirming thoughts and stories of these so-called normal people. This program has no platform, aside from a loose preference for openness, compassion, and humanity. We aim to paint a generally hopeful picture with open-ended conversation among more or less regular people. Hence, on many occasions, we will maintain the anonymity of the civilian guests we have on this podcast, one of which is me. With that, I'm your host, going by the alias Joseph88. This is a podcast for everyone. I hope you enjoy. In this episode of People, I have a broad-ranging conversation with a friend and photographer whose openness and emotional intelligence I've long admired. While we set out expecting to discuss artistic inspiration and ambition in our rapidly changing society, we ended up lingering on a topic too ubiquitous to be as overlooked as it often is: the quarter-life crisis. My guest describes the angst of watching his peers grow further and further away from him in lifestyle and mindset, forming a rift that looks increasingly forbidding. Or perhaps it would be more accurate to describe this looming alienation as the formation of an island of the self, the neighbors of whom are pushed beyond the horizon by the acceleration of tech-driven changes in social networks. We wonder whether there is something fundamentally different going on here, or if perhaps this is just another flavor of the age-old lifespan shifts occurring around the closing of our lives' first quarter. I thoroughly enjoyed sitting down with this young man, and I will be sure to have him back on to discuss his photography career and more of his outlook on life. I want to thank him again for his time, and I hope you enjoy this installment of People.
Hear you speak. I think I might be a little mentally drained, so hopefully I'll be. Oh, are we doing it?
No.
Okay, cool.
No.
Yeah. Hopefully I won't be too drained. Because I want to sound sharp and smart for the audience, but at the same, yeah.
What is smart? How do you sound smart?
Oh man. Well, I try to read a lot of theory so I can use a lot of big words that I learned from college.
Like film theory and photography theory and stuff like that?
Some photo theory, some just like general critical theory. Can use word like interlocutionary.
Can I tell you what I think that means? Of or relating to conversation, like we're having right now, right?
Is that what it is?
Right?
Oh, I don't know.
Interlocutor is someone who's talking to you, right? Talking with you. You're my interlocutor right now, right?
Oh, sweet to see.
Did I fuck up that word?
No, the thing is, I was thinking about the word, but I don't know the definition. I'm actually, I don't know. I
think one of the things I like to, one of the topics of conversation that I like with you is when we talk about words, because I think you and I both have an interest in words, despite maybe not being writers or, I don't know, I'm not the most well-read guy, but
yeah. Oh man, and so I guess we had spoken previously about not just being able to know a lot of words, but yeah, when to use them, because you might sound dumb, not dumb, but it'd sound out of place to use some crazy diction in an environment that's not called for it, and that sounds just as out of place as, I don't know, using.
Yeah, I mean, you can
words.
you can know a very small amount of words and have a good command of the English language or whatever your language is. I had a professor back in college who would, I mean, you could hardly read his handwriting, but you knew you killed it when he would write Twainian, meaning, just perfect word for the occasion. I used abject once, which is not a big word, but I was like, man, I used a simple word in, according to him, a really good placement. So that made me happy.
Nice. No, that's
Have you gotten like excited about the use of any words recently? That's how boring we've become, is we're getting excited about the words that we're using.
No, it's cool. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of. I can't think of any words that I'd use off the top of my head, but my roommate, also wanting to improve her vocabulary, got a vocabulary building book from like the thrift store.
Good for her.
Yeah, but it was funny because each of us knew almost all of the words. It was underwhelming. It's like,
Yeah.
if here we are trying to expand our language, and it's like, I don't know. I mean, certainly there were tons of words that we didn't understand, but it'd be like reconcile.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like it wasn't challenging, but so, and so I was questioning her, like, what's the definition of non sequitur, something like that. I mean, and she, laughed when I said that. She's like, of course. But so what my takeaway is, I knew most of. Well, so it's funny because I can use a lot of words in context, but when actually pressed for the meaning of it, I am kind of clueless.
Yeah.
And so it's funny, like what do I actually know just because I can say it? And also learned because I'd give her the word, she asked for it to be spelled out, and she would just do the pronunciation of it in Google, and I can't pronounce words for shit.
I haven't heard you mispronounce a word before, I don't think.
No, so I guess one of the words I think was sentient, and maybe it was the context of like reading it and pronouncing it from this dictionary of sorts, where it was like sentient.
Yeah.
Just trying to say it sort of, would that be phonetically?
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I said it that way for probably up until a couple of years ago, and then I switched just straight over all the way to sentient, and now I just don't use that word anymore. So I feel like you're being too hard on yourself. You gotta pick words that are more, challenging words, but not just, curveballs. It's a Trojan horse of a word. But,
yeah. No, I don't know. But with the interest in language, I'm gonna butcher this. I believe it was a Mark Twain quote that a classic book is a book that people think they should read, but no one wants to. Something like that. Like, yeah, because I feel like I should read, Moby Dick or something like these, canonical books that I just have no interest in reading.
Yeah.
But no, so I was doing that for a while, and I wasn't enjoying it because I was just doing things I thought I should be doing.
Yeah.
And so now I have this love-hate relationship with the author Thomas Pynchon.
Yeah.
Who, I've only read one of his book and his short stories. They often exceed 700 to 1,000 pages of the most dense vocabulary. And
he's like a science fiction author, right?
Sort of. He'll go to such great detail about the science aspect of his writing. So he could talk at length for chapters on an F-135 airplane if he so chose, or entropy as the second thermodynamic law, or like law in thermodynamics, and to such a degree of specificity that it's like, oh wow, he was, a scientist. But no, yet he just researched it for that part of the book. But
Really?
he loses a lot of it seems like he loses a lot of readers because they get lost on the technical things, even though it's not a part of the story itself, or it doesn't take away from the plot. He's just going on these like scientific tangents.
Yeah, and what if you are a scientifically literate reader and you're just bored by those chapters? He's just alienating two audiences at once, and he has become a writer of classics because no one on either side of that aisle wants to read the fucking book.
Yeah. So his writing is so dense and technical, I'd say, and then his characters are named Meatball Mulligan.
Awesome.
Or what were some others? I don't know. His stuff is just so zany and off the wall. Mm-hmm. I love it. I've got a soft spot for it, but I don't know if I love it because I enjoy the reading, which I think I do, or I enjoy being able to read books that I see as being very prestigious. Mm-hmm. So
this is a difficult topic, and it's interesting you bring it up because I remember it was a few years ago. A mutual friend of ours quoted you. So my dad has thousands of books, and he's always reading. And I was telling him at the time I was reading My Struggle by Carlo Nosgard. I think that I'm mispronouncing his name, but I was, maybe 75% into it, and I just got so bored because I'm just a basic guy, but I didn't want to read it anymore. It was too much description. It's not enough plot for me. I wasn't feeling excited. And my dad said, throw it out. I was like, what? He's like, you're hindering yourself from reading other books by I know you feel obliged to finish this book. So you're just going to keep it on your bookshelf and you're not going to be interested. You're not going to follow your interests. And then that's when you were quoted. Our friend said, you said to not really feel too pressured to do something when you're not feeling up to the task, when you're not feeling inspired, because you're just going to waste your time. And it was somehow the way that at least the way that quote was presented to me really resonated and changed the stuff that I was reading probably. It was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago or something. When did you come up with that idea?
So, to provide a little bit of background, I grew up with a very new age mom, as we were talking about before, and something I'd always grown up with, which is basically, follow what seems most enjoyable. And so it's heartwarming to know that had that impact on you. It really is. But I'm at this turning point, if you will, that I feel like I have a hard time committing or following through with things that don't immediately capture my interest, because it was always, do whatever you want, never work through adversity, work through the unenjoyable experiences of something for the sake of completion. So now I'm at the I guess I'm at a point in my life where I'm trying to find merit and just seeing something through to the end, just to experience for the sake of it, for the sake of completion, because that was something I think I never really experienced as a kid, because I was the first person to drop out of band in middle school because I wasn't enjoying it, and now I regret not having any musical understanding. So it's a funny time to be saying that. So I'm having to is it an idiom?
Yeah.
I've got a sock in my mouth. The sock. There's a foot in my mouth on it.
Yeah.
Is
you have a socked foot in your mouth.
Is there a figure of speech that's
Yeah,
like
it's
that?
like I'm gonna take my, I just put my foot in my mouth with that one.
Yeah,
And
okay.
like you just said, some word vomit or messed it up. No, but you're absolutely right. It's you're absolutely. It's just we're constantly swerving around, and you have to be self-aware enough to know to which extreme you've gone and which voice or influence you need to steer you back to where you want to be. If long-term goal realization is what you're working on, then maybe discipline and following things through when you hate them is good.
It makes sense. So I guess I will say, with that background, it's nice because now I feel I think oftentimes what my mom was trying to avoid was sticking with something that I absolutely hated that made me miserable. Like, yeah, it was with, for instance, the book that would then turn me away from other experiences. And to know that, I can follow the things that I enjoy. I'm permitted to do what feels best and listen to my intuition. And because oftentimes, I don't I don't know your experience. I don't want to speak for you, but like having grown up where the stakes are very high for kids, there's a lot of pressure put on them by their parents to succeed. That it's incredibly stressful, and they often you can see it develop in adults that have these resentments because they were never sort of, or they had to do it out of fear. It was completed not because they wanted to complete something, but because of the severity of the consequences. If they didn't, they would be shunned by their friends, their family, or worse. And so now I'm fortunate in that, because there's often a lot of fear associated with things like that, like be it studying. I think there's a lot of merit in studying. However, if it's something that becomes an actual hindrance, not just for the sake of learning a thing, but if you're studying out of fear of the consequences. If your parents found out, you got a C or something, that it's not doing it for the sake of learning. So now it's nice I want to learn discipline for the sake of learning discipline, not from a point of fear or insecurity. It's just, oh wow, this is a character trait I see as a positive thing, and I want to, foster that within myself. So it's just still following what seems to be the best route for myself, and right now that seems to improve my, personal rituals of reading books that I don't like that I want to complete.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough because there are authentic ways of approaching something, and there are always inauthentic reasons to do anything, and it's part of growing up. One thing that I was thinking about with your mom's message is that, of course, that's a great message to send to a kid. I mean, explore, try all of these things, because if you really are just too disciplined to doing the thing that isn't you, you're likely to be a 25-year-old alcoholic on Wall Street, just crashing and burning. And well, hell, I mean, maybe that's fine. Maybe you'll go and start a nonprofit or become a school teacher, and you'll ultimately find something that's satisfying.
Right.
But with that person, I'm really going on a rant here, but I mean, that person's life story is kind of one of overcorrection, and that they were set on the wrong track initially, and then they overcorrected, and then somehow they found balance that way. But maybe, I guess what I would want is to have a little bit more intentionality and just self-awareness, so I'm not going astray too often. So you just have to know yourself.
Exactly, and that's one thing that and that's it's interesting because I had a difficult phone call with my mom where it was funny. Yeah, the only word that comes to mind is accost. Because you're like such a inappropriate word because I wasn't accosting her.
Yeah.
But here I am just wanting to use big words. Just calling her out where, by having the freedom to essentially do whatever it was that I wanted, and that my actions would have their own consequences, and that would be what I would learn from, and that would be the incentive to guide my future actions. I didn't have the wherewithal to avoid or mitigate things that would become future problems because I was just following this, hedonistic, what's the next thing I want to do. And obviously to any teenager, that doesn't involve going to school. No. So I skipped so much class, and I like to think, and it'd be one thing if I did interesting things with my time, if I were exploring or, doing something worthwhile in its place, if I were so fixated with a passion, if I just played music the entire time, where it's like I can't go to school because I have so much to express that's flowing out of me and I just have to do all of this. This is great. No, I just sat around and did nothing. And so the funny thing is the idea being the consequences will be inevitable, and I have this childhood programming of not going to school, but I turned out all right. So here I am trying to look for, career-oriented work, and I've been having a hard time stepping up to the plate because, and not that I'm incapable, but my qualm with my mom was I wish that I had a history, a momentum built in of following through, of being able to rise to the occasion and look for the jobs, or know with confidence that I'd be able to show up to work every single day because I'd slept in so much. And so now I never felt confident in my abilities to operate on the same level as everyone else. It wasn't a problem of competence. It was just I assumed the role of a fuck up, and I fucked up a lot of my experience in high school and stuff, which is fortunate that I got out. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to get on such a personal note.
No. I think it's relevant.
I hope so.
Everything is, whatever. We're just hanging out.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know. That always creeps. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's interesting how our childhood experiences play into our everyday decision making, and because I thought it was normal to just get high all the time and go to shows and sneak out and have fake IDs and stuff like that, because that's who I was associating. The people I was associating with all did that, so that was the default. And so now I'm seeing people that have nice jobs, dress well, are getting married, are having kids intentionally. And that never did any of that, but are doing just fine because their default was...
It was stable. It was on the right path. It was on the up and up.
Exactly. And I'm trying to join them, so to speak, with stable work and a nice job, living in a nice place, and I feel so uncomfortable wearing I'd feel uncomfortable if I drove a nice car, because that that feels so foreign because I was always such like everything I did, I just like fucked things up.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I don't know.
It's an aesthetic. It's this full get up now. To make it a bit light, I don't know if this could either be a really good or a really bad thing to share with you, a really bad, good or bad perspective to share with you at this time where you're sorting this stuff out. I mean, I would say I'm coming from a very similar position, background wise. I think our trajectories overlap in a lot of ways. I had a lot of independence as a kid. I didn't get pressure. I was given the liberty to quit, but still, I would say fortunately, I remember I was hanging around. I was skateboarding and hanging around kind of the punks or whatever you would call them. I don't know. And then I got an injury, and then I wasn't supported through that. My friends were making fun of me for getting hurt, and through, I guess, getting pissed off at them, even though being a really insecure kid, just getting pissed off was just enough of an impetus to introduce me to a group of friends who were more supportive and who were interested in who were still a little bit off the wall and alternative, but who were interested in maybe getting their life a little bit together. And to fast forward probably over a decade, I mean, I have had good jobs, and one of the things I would say about everything that you're describing, the good job, the stability, the house, I don't think it's something to be taken too seriously, because I look at it as it really is. It's just the surface, and I'm not really interested in, at least for me, I mean, what I find interesting about people is not what they're up to necessarily between the hours of 9 to 5. I know it sounds awful, but I often don't want to hear about people's passion projects. I just want to get to know them as a person, and then maybe we can delve into that. But I just think that the career and the stability, it's all just an illusion. And maybe if you take it a little bit less seriously, then you realize that it's something that at the other side of it, which you'll be probably in a year or two, and then you'll just be like, yeah, I'll just integrate that within the rest of me, and I'll still be this guy who wears paint-stained clothes and has interesting projects on the side.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
totally,
if that's a good outcome for you.
Yeah, that would certainly be ideal, because it definitely seems like this either or, where if I get a job where I work incredibly long hours or something, like, cause with a background in manual labor, when I do, I've had wildly inconsistent hours, but after the commute and to and from work, after I eat dinner or a shower and I eat dinner, I get like 45 minutes, an hour of free time, and then I'm too tired to do anything else, so I go back to bed. And it's this cycle, which I guess most working people deal with, and then you get 2 days off, and then you're tired. You're
hungover is what you are. If you're me, I don't know. You're sober, right?
Yeah, so, yeah, but
lucky.
Still, I don't need to drink to be fucking wake up with headaches. And
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just like achy. I don't want to do anything, and so then, my time off, where that's my only time to do anything, it's the only time I want to do not like. I don't know.
This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. This is a brief musical interlude you're likely to skip through. working the thing is, I understand that we're definitely coming to each other at a time when we're both working. It's a very strange period of your life. You could use the term quarter life crisis. I always feel like I'm too old to be using a term like that, but I'm like, well, look at the declining life expectancy of this country. Like, no, we're like well into the high 30s at this, but whatever. It's just to bookend what you're talking about with influences. We're talking about outside influences, and you're just at the point where you've lived enough life to take a look at where you are and to try to understand, how did I get here? Because I know that I'm not happy exactly where I am, and I want to change it. So in order to change it, I need to take an inventory of how I got here. Yeah. So maybe I can change things that I wasn't smart enough to change back then. But because when you're growing up and you're going to school and you're getting your shit together, it's very things are just happening. Everything's just happening at once. And I guess I look at my background and it looks so similar to yours that it makes you wonder, well, why aren't we the same exact person? Yeah, it was just so weird. Like that one little injury that I was mentioning earlier was enough to make me choose a very boring path that I have since hopped off and see the whole thing as a game now. And maybe 5 years from now, you'll see me strung out and needing stable gainful employment. We'll see how that works.
Well, I certainly hope not.
It's fine, you know. It's learning. But does like, okay, so we're talking about working these hours. Obviously, not having this stable life that you're talking about definitely sounds like a lot less free time than your current lifestyle. So one thing I'm wondering is, do you think that creative work offers an out where you can have a healthy lifestyle?
Seldom. Very, very rare. Very rare opportunity, because so often the trajectory would become a professor at a research university where they encourage you to maintain an artistic practice. However, professors, especially in art schools, are severely underpaid and overworked in the sense, like, there are definitely a lot of hours that, off the clock that are involved.
Drinking cocktails and going to potlucks. Yeah. I idealize that lifestyle way too much, so you have to.
Okay, gotcha. I don't know. I mean, just grading papers, dealing with students, texting them at 11 p.m. that they're freaking out with their problems, and
art school is different. Yeah. Forgot, 'cause you went to So have you thought about working as what would you say, as a professor at an art school?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, I love the idea of it. I also like the idea of doing that while being independently or like being financially independent, so that, I mean, how the fuck would that work? But
no, I think you'd get paid enough if you just want to live frugally.
I mean, how much do you need? It's certainly relative. I mean, because what they do with, there's so few tenure track positions, and there's so many adjuncts that make less than minimum wage.
Oh, wow.
And so it's such a highly competitive field, actually. So then you get in, you do all of this work to get in, and then you get paid shit. And it's funny, because it's not funny. It's actually quite sad that when I was in school, I would I'd always invest into myself within my time in art school. So I'd prioritize that over, I guess some financial well-being, and I think there was some animosity with peers because I was doing more. I was spending investing more of myself into this than some of them were.
Some of the more affluent students, or some of the more non-affluent students?
Oh, non-affluent.
They're art students. They
Yeah.
just don't. Just something I'm wondering is, when you think about it, it's crazy when you think about the cost of doing this work. I mean, you have to speak to the details of photography, but this expensive equipment and then the potential payoff is so relatively low. So you're spending all this money on equipment. How could you ever possibly? I guess there are two tracks. I get as we're talking about, you could go out on your own, and I guess there are many entrepreneurial opportunities for photographers, but very hard to do. And or you could have the stability of the university, rent their equipment, or their college or academic institution, rent their equipment, and get paid next to nothing. So what do you think is the higher expected value in this
Certainly the academic route, I think, offers a lot more security at that. I like the idea of being a working artist. However, that is highly improbable. And I will never sacrifice, actual financial well-being for it. So, there's no real way to go out on your own and just focus on art. I mean, everyone has to be incredibly multifaceted with their approach. There are high-profile artists that are adjuncts at 3 or 4 different schools.
Mm-hmm.
So their commute is outrageous. They're balancing all of these different things. They have their own career to worry about. And so everyone, you can't just find a gallery or get, representation and have that take care of things. You have, even if you have that, then you have, you're teaching, and then you have speaking engagements are a lot of that, portfolio reviews, just being involved in various other capacities. So it's essentially all freelance at that. Or none of it's consistent, none of it's to be expected.
You're scrounging together a career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If
that.
Your work is up to snuff, and you're, if you're the one in a million, that's like the best odds.
Yeah, it sounds like it's like an amazingly tough life. I was thinking, I was reading this. I don't remember, because I get artists mixed up, but it might have been Philip Glass, who was recognized fixing the sink of a fan of his. He's a plumber, and I could be getting that composer wrong, so don't quote me on it. And the article was just explaining how his job as a plumber actually inspired him creatively, and it was not oppositional to his actual work, because that's a good job. You get paid a lot of money, or you get paid enough to, if somehow you can't be drained creatively by the manual labor.
And that's exactly what it is for me. I'm not a plumber, but I've worked as a plumber, and and it's enjoyable work. I like the problem solving. However, it's also incredibly stressful.
Right.
Like, maybe I'm just not a good plumber, and I'm sure there's a lot of that, but when things go wrong, it's fucking disastrous. The stress involved with being responsible for someone's house gets to me.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a lack of confidence, where my thing is, like, I don't mind working with my hands and doing physical labor. It's, I guess, my mental faculties that I don't want to drain, so that when I go home, I can be with my thoughts and not just want to drown everything out. And, just when I go home so often, I just don't want to think about anything. So I just go on the infinite scroll of Facebook, YouTube, Reddit, Instagram. So then that like the 45 minutes, hour that I do have, I spend doing that more often than not. So
I feel like, yeah.
But I'm actually really kind of inspired by the idea of I'd love to hear more, because I'm not big in, I don't know many composers, but I know Philip Glass. So like that's, if that is him, that's like just a cool story.
Yeah, I mean, it is a cool composer, whoever it was. But yeah. I think there is work out there that isn't. I think there is work out there that can be complementary to you, that's tolerable. I think the problem is just finding that. Like, I've worked in software, and I wanted to do creative work on the outside of work, and killed me because it was taking up all of my mental energy doing these repetitive cognitive tasks that made me feel like when I left that I had some sort of dementia or amnesia, forgetting what I was going to say in conversation.
Oh my God.
I mean, but I think this is fairly common among people who have that type of work, staring at a screen and building things with a keyboard and things like that. So I've wondered whether more physical work, which I've just gotten a small taste of, wouldn't be a better fit for me. Whereas I'm sure there are a lot of people, there are a lot of people who are inspired by more technical virtual work, that maybe that's less of a mental load and you'd be able to explore your creative passions outside.
Yeah, it is interesting, and it's and I guess in trying to branch out and start exploring some other possibilities, like it's weird to feel like a good job is a viable option, or like is a viable thing. Because I don't know if it's like just a low self-esteem where it's just like, why would they hire me? I'm not up to par. And so then I'm doing all of my job searches, and they're all for like fucking poor, hard labor jobs, which, I mean, it's good, honest work. And unfortunately I'm not in a position, I'm still working right now. So it's like if I were out of work and I needed something, I would, certainly take whatever I could get. But I'm right now in this position where I can sort of take the time to look for something, and it feels weird. It feels like good jobs are just not like are so far above me.
It's not true. I mean, the problem is, I think a lot of it's generational though, because there are a couple of fields I feel, maybe I'm just going to do a small list of my peer group that I've noticed have jobs now. Okay. There's technical work. There's people who work in software adjacent to it, and that's like the low-hanging fruit where there's still lots of people hiring. Crazy aberration that's probably going to go away soon. Then, nothing lasts forever. Then people in the medical field. There's always jobs there. And then what else? I mean, you have people in business who have maybe they have a MBA, or what do you call it, BA. They're in business. They're making PowerPoints. I don't know what they do, like accounting, stuff like that. But otherwise, then you have all this other, like, kind of, to me, almost bullshit degree. Like, I majored in public health, and I don't know. I know a lot of people like that who have sort of relevant, interesting degrees, but they're not able to translate it because this economy, it's almost like you have to have some secret knowledge to get by. And it's just not as easy as it used to be. You hear about people in our parents' generation who just kind of dropped out of college 10 times and then became executives at Fortune 500 companies while drunk, and like you can still smell the liquor on their breath. Like, yeah. Somehow there's like no trash cans on fire outside. Somehow like it works.
Yeah. Oh man.
It's hard for us. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard.
I know of a couple people that come to mind like that, where it's, I mean, great for them. Hell. Yeah. Yes. I guess I'm just very much at this. I don't want to call it. I'm not gonna say that.
You're pissed off.
What?
No, go on.
Oh no, I hate to use the word existential crisis. I'm having an existential
Quarter
crisis.
life.
Yeah, quarter
life crisis.
I'm having a quarter life crisis, y'all.
Yeah.
But it's a good one because it's I like the idea of what you were saying about taking inventory. Like that seems cool. Like I'm just reassessing and trying to go from there. It's just hard to trust what seems to be the best route of action.
Yeah.
But, it's also, there's not only one possibility. There are so many. So it's just like trying to tap into, I realize I've got no clue. Not so much in like what's going on in the world. I like to, hear some about, politics and whatnot. But I've got no idea. I mean, I don't know. I was at Kroger the other day. As I was walking into the store, I saw someone looked not much older than me with, AirPods in, driving a BMW concept car. Well, I don't know if it's a concept car now. I don't know if it's relevant.
Exactly.
And so, it's like where are the people at now, living in fancy apartments in downtown, with AirPods and phones with 3 cameras. Is like that's the cultural bar.
You ever been to a party with those people?
No, I hope not.
Boring, shallow, antagonistic. I don't know, but my perspective on it is that that's very much a game. And that those people, the correlation between what you have and how interesting of a person you are is very limited.
It's a privileged perspective to be unmotivated, because I'm not fighting for the roof over my head at this point. I have the luxury of being lazy and taking the time to make decisions.
To a degree, yeah. There's no draft. You don't have to grow up, really, ever.
No, but I want to, and certain to like clarify the other part. I have no desire to be associated with the people that drive the concept cars.
Unless it's Jay Leno, come on.
yeah. I didn't realize he was such a car guy.
Yeah, but sorry,
that's sick. No, it's just wanting to be like privy to cultural norms, like your trends. Like it's not crazy to have a friend that owns like a 3D printer. That's kind of mind-blowing to me, where it's like, whoa, the future is here. It's like, no, it's actually been here for quite some time.
Yes.
And so it's like, or having friends that have like, I don't know, especially with like technological developments, like here I am still developing film. I don't know. It's just, we really are in such a crazy place. In this world, and so it's just it's not so much about like the personalities of the people that have these things as it is being tapped in and up to date so I can engage with what's going on right now. Not to say I have no desire to own AirPods. That's not what it's about, but the technology is there for these developments that aid in I'm to a degree I feel anachronistic.
No, absolutely. Like this is exactly what I was about to say, because I'm in the same boat. In our previous podcast, we talked a little bit about like technology and just being out of the loop and being skeptical of it. But there's the weirdest thing. The weirdest thing about this is, I remember being on the metro, watching all of these people in nice clothes walk by me with what I now know to be AirPods, not knowing there was a word for that. And then when I ordered myself a new iPhone, I was disappointed not to see that those AirPods in the box, because I just assumed that was the next generation headphones that everyone had, because white headphones, to me, that just means they come with an Apple product. And we live in a weird time where, as you say, people like us, or I don't know, like a huge swaths of people are just kind of falling off. And the way I would put it, once a month at least, I find myself in a position not knowing a technology exists until I see it in real life. So I saw a guy with a jetpack 5 years ago, and that was the first time where I really thought to myself, like, I didn't know you could do that, and there you are. You have a jetpack, and you're using it in front of my own two eyes.
Wow.
That stuff happens all the time now. Like that BMW, I think I know what you're talking about. It's the i something. It's this big low to the ground. It's got two doors. I remember walking down the street, and I saw that car for the first time, and I was appalled that I didn't know it had come out yet, because I'd been reading books as a kid about future BMW designs. Then I find out the guy who owns it is a friend of mine, or I know him through mutual friends. Wow. And it's just all of these bizarre examples of seeing the world change, and there's no common cultural basis anymore. It's weird that the information is so ubiquitous, but the distribution of it is spotty at best. And I think a lot, you talk about scrolling, I think our heads are largely just clogged by bullshit. Wouldn't you want to know that AirPods are a thing?
Yeah.
It's important shit.
It is, and it's also interesting trying to source the sort of like the conception of an identity through consuming. I'm trying to base who I am off of whether or not I own these things. Well, actually, it's not just that. It's wanting to be just in the loop, aware of what's going on. I can critique it from there, but to at least have the knowledge. So I'm not, is that the Luddite?
Yeah, I don't know. I use that term too loosely, but yeah.
I don't know. It's cool. As you were saying that, it reminds me, I still have such a clear memory of my stepdad at the time telling me that Apple was going to announce a tablet, that it was going to be what looked like an oversized iPod Touch.
Mm-hmm.
And that later came to be the iPad.
Mm-hmm.
So it was interesting being there at where the information was disseminated, which was to this this guy who's telling me that Apple is going to release a product that is at the time unnamed, but it's going to be a tablet.
Yeah.
It's
it's
funny,
I remember watching Steve Jobs announce the iPhone in the keynote speech that he did. And we've witnessed all this stuff, but one of the things that I wonder, I don't keep you for too long, but one of the things that I wonder is something different going on? Are we actually just falling off? Are millennials, or whatever generation we are, mid 20 somethings in our mid 20s, because I just find that I've lost interest. So you give me a new technological product, even though I'm deeply interested in lots of things technological, and the potential for that, for innovation through technology, is particularly software. It blows my mind how much interest I've just lost in innovations and in directions we're going. People tell me about something new, and I'm like, I just, not only do I not know, but I don't care. And I think that you and I might be in a weird position where we are such outsiders. I find myself talking to these people that you're describing. They're living in the flats and they have these jobs. I find them so boring and they're shallow. And is it that millennials are losing interest in materialism, or is it something much worse than that? I don't know.
I just want to take a second and thank you for doing the work of seeing, of experiencing what these people are like, so that someone like me doesn't have to do that while retaining the information that they still, in fact, suck.
Well, you've shared, yeah.
Oh no.
You've shared with me. The problem is though, you've shared with me that you've just re-downloaded Tinder. So I think you're likely to deal. I come into contact with this mostly through dating because that's one of the things I think. Emotional intimacy is one of the things that I can't cross off the list. So I think that with dating, you find yourself compromising many things, and you're sitting across the table from somebody who's got an Apple Watch and who's got on one wrist a Fitbit, on the other AirPods and texting, right in front of you, and you know, like,
yeah.
So I mean, you're gonna just wait. Just wait. Next week, you'll have a date with one of these people.
Hopefully so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can. Maybe here's a strategy that I think that we should really take seriously.
Yeah.
Having these people finance our lives. Getting into a relationship where one of these people. No, I'm kidding.
I'm for it. Yeah, and you know what? Couple of notes on the Tinder date. It hasn't come up yet, but if it comes up, I really like the idea of taking a date to that restaurant near the is it Peachtree Dunwoody Airport?
Oh,
watching the planes take off.
Hell yeah.
That to me sounds like a really cool date
but
idea.
You're gonna get there and you're gonna see this pixelated figure approach you, and you're like, oh shit, she's only half physical now and she doesn't get to enjoy the view. She only gets, so we have to text now at the table. I'm going crazy, but yeah.
No, I mean it's that Black Mirror stuff,
Romance is still real though. You're right. I like that you're on those cool date ideas.
It is, yeah. I mean, because no, there's one girl, the closest thing to a prospective date right now, in her bio spelt out what her ideal date would be. And so all I had to say is, I mean, it's not confirmed or anything, but it's just like, that sounds like a lot of fun. Like, there's a lot of back and forth, and I was just like, can we do this? Can we do your idea of a date?
Where do I sign up?
Yeah. And I was like, I promise I'm not being lazy. It's just, your ideas are much cooler at this point. My idea of a date would be far more boring.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to go get, blankets with me because my bed needs new blankets and I have to run some errands, but it'd be cool if you joined me, kind of.
No,
and I think that's
really
sweet, but it's not fun and exciting.
True. Yeah, true. You need to, it is true that the whole danger thing, that if there's some real adrenaline that you experience on the first date, then you're more likely to do the second date, which to me kind of disappointed, because to me I was thinking, well, Target sounds like a big adrenaline rush for me because I get nervous when I walk into a space like that. But are you saying that for girls this is kind of par for the course now? Looking for blankets and bedding is not actually a good, exciting date. I'm bombing.
Yeah.
I'm bombing. Yeah.
I would certainly love it if anyone thought that was an exciting night out. I mean, there's a lot of fun to be had. I think it's really sweet, and it kind of is an intimate act in and of itself to buy things, to take care, maintain your household, your property, the things you own. Even if it's getting groceries, I think that's actually a really sweet time to have together, especially if you're having dialogue around it of oh man, what's a potential product that could actually improve your life, or buying one brand versus the other and having like a discussion. Like I think that's actually really sweet. It's just not a real catchy. I mean, sure, I've got no idea.
These folks want adventure, these folks want adventure, and that's the thing. I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, I kind of want to get to know somebody, and it seems like you're not really interested in getting to know me, but you're looking to get an experience out of me. I've been through, just short of a relationship, and then I realize this person hasn't heard a word I've said. It's that there is the danger of when you see someone who already has that date spelled out. It's like it's very possible that, hey, maybe you're not even going to be on that date to her. That she just wanted that experience with someone who looks, roughly the shape of her fantasy, and then this is not just her, but it's people in the online dating sphere.
I think I've got rose-colored glasses right now. First time on Tinder in like 2 years. It's been a long.
Cheers. And
just trying to put myself out there in a very earnest sort of way. I keep saying earnest or associated.
No, I was thinking in an earnest sort of way. It's like, So I'm earnestly on Tinder, and I'm like, well, that's your problem if you're not satisfied with your dating life. I mean, I don't. But in I guess on that note, I wish you the best of luck in your dating endeavors. I know you'll do well. This is, you got some good dating ideas.
Thank you. I'll certainly try.
Yeah, this conversation went in an interesting direction, but I appreciate the time you spent there.
Yeah, man.
We're tired.
It's been good.
We're tired.
I am tired after a long day of work.
Yeah. All right, Philip. Any last words, Mr. Bass?
Oh, Mr. Man, so a lot of people have been referring to me. So a lot of people think my last name is Bass, which to you, the viewer, it is. Yeah. So that's part of my social media account is Sebas.
Oh.
And so I was mentioned in a photography workshop that I'm going to be a participant in.
Cool.
And so the group was announcing it, and they said, like, welcoming Bass, who has, participated in other workshops. They know I have email correspondence with them. And so then I was talking with a schoolmate. They were just like, oh yeah, so is your last name Bass? Like, apparently it's become a thing. I don't stop them because I think it's hilarious.
But you're just, aliases get developed against your will. So I guess like finally, the last thing I'll do, and I'll put this in the front, but how would you describe who you are right now?
Who I am right now, I'm just a guy trying to get by.
Yeah.
No, I mean I'm in a very fortunate position that I have the opportunity to work through some larger identity questions. I've got the option to actually go down a multitude of paths, and it's just a matter of figuring out what I want to do most. And it's such a rare opportunity that I can kind of go balls to the walls and say, oh, fuck it, I want to, work in production. I want to do, I really have the support to do whatever I want. And so now it's just trying to hold up my end of the bargain. I don't know if I can tell you who I am, but my experience has been that it takes a village. It really has taken. There have been so many people involved in my upbringing. Parents, teachers, friends, various mentor figures, just this multitude of people. I've had nothing but support. People encouraging me to do the wildest of things. Which, I mean, and going to art school is one of them. To say, hey, I'm going to study this thing that I love.
Photography.
Yeah. At a collegiate level, for the sake of doing it, is such a odd sort of thing. And to be supported by it is really cool. And so I'm just, I'm at a precipice of figuring out the next steps,
Cheers. I really appreciate you sharing all this stuff and hanging out.
Thank you. It's been a real treat.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening to People. If you enjoyed this conversation, please consider subscribing to the program wherever you get your podcasts. And we would deeply appreciate your feedback in the form of a review on one of these platforms, as we intend on refining and growing the program based on insights from listeners like you. Finally, for more information or to donate to this listener-supported project, please visit our website at peoplepod.org. After all, it's people like you who keep us going. I hope you'll join us for the next episode of People, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.